There is some support this, including for the National Farmers Federation. And joining me now is the President, David Jochinke. Thank you for your time. So I've read what you've had to say about vehicle emissions. Your main call is a carve-out for farmers. Would that be actual vehicles used on a farm? It couldn't just be a farmer's weekend car that, goes down and good luck to him, gets a boat on the water, whatever it might be. Are we talking about actual work cars here?
We're absolutely talking about the work vehicles, the tools of our trade. What we're seeing is a bit of a disconnect between what the ambitions are of some of this proposed legislation and the reality of what this means for farmers. Because, to be quite honest, the ute is one of the most important pieces of equipment we have on the farm, and we needed to make sure that we've got something that's powerful enough and that's also built for the Australian conditions, of which we don't see a lot of choices in the current market.
Not a lot yet, but that could change, right? That's going to be an increased focus, presumably, once more and more countries have these standards in place. Is this something you want to have this carve out as a sort of a transition, and once the vehicles are available, then it would be up to farmers like anyone else to either choose a higher polluting vehicle or an electric vehicle? Would that be fair enough?
Well, we want to have equivalence. We want to make sure that we have a vehicle of equivalent power at an equivalent price. And if that can occur, we'd be happy to put ourselves back into the mix. But at the moment, we don't have either of those two options. And especially when we're talking about the power and the need to ensure we've got a safe vehicle to operate in, the total increase is that there's not too many options.
But when you say equivalent, might be a bit more expensive. That's what the everyday person might have to endure, but probably save some money on petrol. So is it just something that's, equitable in the ballparks of it, rather than it has to be the same price?
Well, let's be honest about this. When you have a vehicle that has a lower power threshold and you ask it to do more power, it drinks more fuel. So let's not pretend that this is going to solve the issue of efficiencies when we're trying to make sure we're running a job, having a business and doing our jobs. So for us, yes, it is about making sure that we've got the ability to have the same vehicle at the same price. And we talk about cost of living. This is a cost that businesses we have to bear, and that ultimately flows through to food, and that's one of the main things that we do.
Bit of talk around what's happening out in the regions and the electricity grid. Transition lines, I knew they're going to have to be big new ones for renewables under the Labor plan. Can this be done well, so it's not too intrusive and helps out any directly affected landholders because they get this sort of guaranteed income from them?
Oh, look, we believe that there's definitely the opportunity to have renewables and transmission within the framework of agriculture. However, the current settings and the current standards that are put into place are well below what we would expect. And we saw a report from only a month ago come out that 62% of farmers weren't happy with the engagement that they had through that process. And so we believe there's a better way.
And what does that mean? That they're not happy with where it goes, financial compensation? What are we talking there?
Well, it can be various things. Usually people jump to the money and say you're getting compensated, but it changes the whole aspect of the farm. And that's what we're trying to avoid. We're trying to put it into the landscape without damaging or taking away agricultural production.
The way a lot of these things have worked in the past, coal seam gas, wind, is the better someone's compensated, the less they have an issue with it. So money matters, doesn't it, on this?
It does, but that's where people jump to without getting the process right. And a lot of the time, it's the landholders that host these assets that are rewarded the most. But we want to take a step back and go, shouldn't we look at this as a community view? Shouldn't the neighbours get a bite of the apple?
Someone who might only be 10 metres away might get nothing. That's the issue here. Does that mean maybe some compensation comes off the main person who's getting a great deal and a bit onto the neighbour?
Well, once again, we're talking about money here. We wanted to take even a step further back and go, well, what's this energy being used for and how is it benefiting the local community? If we're really strategic about this, we should be creating jobs for the regions. We should be able to make sure that there's longevity in these projects that provide the critical mass to keep the hospitals open, to keep the schools open, not just exporting the energy to the metro consumers.
David, you've got to leave it there. Thank you.
Anytime, thanks.